In the 1961 animated feature 101 Dalmatians, Cruella De Vil is rail thin, a towering skeleton of a woman, all sharp edges, skin and bone. She disguises her withered frame in fur coats and gaudy makeup. Every piece of her, from cheekbones to hips, from her breasts to the pointy promontory of her chin, is dangerously angular. So is her voice. She's brash and overbearing. She sounds more like a deranged Katharine Hepburn than a London heiress. "Anita, darling," she drawls as she scours the house for newborn pups. This Cruella inspires fear. When Roger writes his catchy little tune, "Cruella De Vil, Cruella De Vil, if she doesn't scare you, no evil thing will," we're reminded that it's fear, not love, she conjures. Cruella certainly scared me when I was young, more than many other Disney villains. It wasn't just her bizarre appearance and mannerisms or her quick rage that I found frightening. It was the depth of her wickedness. Cruella wanted to slaughter and skin dozens of puppies to make into soft, spotted fur coats. This kind of evil is always more disturbing than dark lords or power-hungry sorcerers. More human motives are always the most terrifying. Jealousy, vanity, petty vengeance. Her villainy troubles us because it's relatable. She's a bad egg through and through, that Cruella, rotten to the core. It's strange, then, that the new Disney live-action drama Cruella, the prequel to 101 Dalmatians and backstory of the film's namesake, should fail to answer the most important question this movie has to ask. What made Estella become the Cruella we know from the original film? How does she break bad? Was she born a villain, or was villainy thrust upon her? What inexplicable twists of fate led her to this point, to skinning helpless puppies to make some fur coats? Before there was a prequel, these questions didn't matter. Cruella is a cartoon villain, and that's enough. Now they do. In some ways, the film tries to answer these questions, but in no ways does it succeed. We learn of Cruella's tragic backstory, which involves a trio of vicious Dalmatians. We learn also that her real name is Estella, and that Cruella is an alter ego that only comes out when she's stressed or angry or out for revenge. The film is a hodgepodge of different genres, from heist flick to revenge story to period piece, with a bit of Devil Wears Prada thrown into the mix. Or, well, quite a lot, actually. What it's really missing are some musical numbers. That would have elevated this drab affair into something far more fun. All the trappings of a musical are here. The wild costumes, the elaborate set pieces, the fabulous hair and makeup. The soundtrack is excellent, but it's no replacement for some show tunes. Cruella, directed by I, Tonya's Craig Gillespie, plays it safe across the board. It's PG-13, but I can't for the life of me understand why. It's not particularly violent, far less so than other Disney films like Mulan. There's no sex and no nudity, barely any skin at all under all that fabric, and no swearing. It's funny at times, but never bawdy. The rating is for violence and themes, but if a bit of revenge and murder is a PG-13 theme, then surely 101 Dalmatians and its threat of puppycide fits the bill. This may be Disney's Joker, but the emphasis falls heavily on Disney's. The rating makes no sense. Neither does much of the film. It's too long, too slow, too bloated, and often underwhelming. Cut 20 or 30 minutes and you'd have a better picture. Its best moments are style over substance. Cruella in another revolutionary outfit, or burning rubber all in black on her motorcycle, upstaging her rival with pizzazz. Cruella, played by Emma Stone, goes from orphan girl to fashion designer. It's a rags to riches story that leads her into a downward spiral of revelation and revenge. She and her gang engage in various heists, and eventually an all-out guerrilla warfare campaign against the Baroness, played by Emma Thompson. Instead of battles, we get fashionista pop-ups and glamorous ambushes at high society events, in front of flashing cameras and dazzled fans. Cruella is the underdog, a stylish badass trying to stick it to the man, or the woman as the case may be. And while she starts to ignore her friends Jasper, played by Joel Fry, and Horace, played by Paul Walter Hauser, and becomes rather more brisk and bossy when she dons her Cruella persona, she's also never cruel, she's never bad, she's never Not once in the entire film's 2-hour and 14-minute run, wicked. Not one little bit. She doesn't even kill the dogs. This is puzzling. Are we reinventing Cruella? Has Disney decided it must rehabilitate its villains? Those poor, unfortunate souls, misunderstood and mistreated all these long years? I'm not really sure. I was hoping we'd find out what made this wicked dame tick, but instead we're introduced to an entirely new and less interesting character. Only the trappings of 101 Dalmatians remain by the time the credits roll. The characters have the same names, Jasper and Horace and Roger and Anita and Cruella. Hell Hall makes its brooding appearance. But none of it matters. You could call Stone's character Betty Noir and tweak a few pages of the script, and you'd have a wholly original story on your hands. So flimsy is the connection to the original film. But that wouldn't sell as many tickets, now would it? In the end, we have a stylish, overly long movie about a less interesting Harley Quinn look-alike that should have been rated PG and run for 105 minutes instead of 134. The pretense at edginess is paper-thin, and the film would have been better off leaning the other way, toward the absurd and cartoonish, rather than grasping at a realism it can never really pin down. The performances are solid, and the casting is great. And the costumes, well, the costumes are gorgeous. But Cruella plays it too safe and never really finds its feet, let alone its voice. Too bad it wasn't a musical. These sorts of shortcomings and blemishes are more forgivable when song and dance are involved.